What it do, homies? It's your boy Dave, and I'm back today. We back here with some more Suicide Boys. This time we checking out I No Longer Fear the Razor Guarding My Heels. Okay, now this is a lyric version, and I was kind of scrolling through this, and it looks like it's a 5-part series. Okay, so I like to get wordy, especially when it comes to Suicide Boys and their type of stuff they be talking about. So I'll try to keep things brief, but I'm telling you, fair warning right now, this might end up being like a 20-minute video possibly, because sometimes I just simply can't shut up. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Let's see what they're talking about today. Got to get my brain ready. Interesting that they say that 4 times, right? Okay. Hard head, like you simply can't, when somebody's like hard-headed about something, right, where you live in like a certain way, or you got a certain tendency or whatnot, and you just can't can't get away from it. Like, you got a hard head. And then it sounds like he's going through just the whole entire actions of these things, right? Get packed, right? Gun, get packed, pack yourself up with a bunch of guns. And he's saying it's die, got a big clip with a Jason mask. Not necessarily a Jason mask per se, but usually when like robberies or shootings go on, you want to conceal your identity. Interesting that he says the Jason mask, though, that choice of word, right? Because Jason mask, horror, scary, not necessarily boogeyman type sense, but I'm out. Obviously, the only purpose for it is murder, right? So he could have put anything there. He could have said, actually, I don't have any other examples, but you guys get the idea. And then hard head, wig split, because when they, shooting somebody, the wig split, so your head's splitting up.
Blunt between my lips and riding with the bitch decides me. She ducking out, she trying to sleep. I'm ducking out, I'm trying to see the road, but all I can see are 4 horsemen coming closer to me. I think I'm about to die with it.
Interesting. So looks out the window, all you see is 4 horsemen, right? So 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, famine, disease, like death or whatnot. So I'm thinking what he's trying to say here is, no hope. Everywhere he's looking out, that's all he's seeing, which is kind of makes it a little bit harder to kind of change your type of ways, which kind of ties into what the chorus, with the hook of the song, right, where he kept repeating it. Also, gives me a sense of what the meaning of hard head mean, right? So, okay. Interesting when he said ducking out, trying to sleep, right? So you got a kind of a comparison versus what she's going through, which is probably like what typical people go through when they're getting high and everything, trying to go to sleep, try to eat, trying to go to sleep. But he gets high and he gets different types of visions and everything. I like that little comparison, right? I don't smoke at all, but I think the people who do smoke probably can relate to that, right? Some people smoke to kind of get away from their demons or whatnot, right? But sometimes when you do smoke, instead of getting that comfortable feel where you just want to go to sleep, you start panicking and hallucinating about all these other type of things. So that's a nice little comparison there.
She ducking out, she trying to sleep. I'm ducking out, I'm trying to see the road, but all I can see are 4 horsemen coming closer to me. I think I'm about to die with it. Swerving out in love, fuck the bitches, ain't my time. Let the world blow up first, then I might just close my eyes. It's all I really wanted my whole life. The universe won't know this bitch, you just another line. The sun will rise, the stars have already died.
Okay, so swerving on them, right? So trying to escape death, right? Trying to escape these type of issues that are plaguing your life. And then let's see what he say. He said it's in his time, right? All he really wanted with his whole life. Interesting. Hold on, let me go back here real quick. Let the world blow up first. So then I might close my eyes. Wants to see the world burn first before he decides he wants to take a rest.
All I really wanted my whole life, the universe won't know this bitch. You just another life. The sun will rise, the stars have already died.
So it's all it's all he ever wanted, right? So this is everything he's wanting to go through. Yeah, that's interesting. Universe won't notice. It's kind of thinking about, usually the path to stardom. This is why you see a whole lot with like rock bands and everything, like the path to stardom, the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, you notice why a whole lot of rappers talk about all these drugs and stuff, talk about on lean and on Molly and stuff like that. Sometimes people kind of get themselves trapped in those vortexes and everything until they make it, and then it just escalates even more. The universe won't notice, right? So he's putting forth all these efforts amidst all this other issues that's going on, and the universe still won't notice me. You might get that feeling that everything is just simply against you. The four horsemen, right? My career. He might even not even be talking about a literal death. Might be talking about like a career death. Like he's aspiring, trying to make his dreams come true, but he just keeps getting smacked by the four horsemen and everything. So the universe won't know. He's like, all right, skip it, man. I just want the whole world to burn because I'm not feeling well and I don't feel like it's fair for everybody else to be prospering, right? And he said the stars had already died, not necessarily like the stars in the sky, right? I'm thinking stars like famous people have already died.
Don't know this bitch, you just another life. The sun will rise, the stars have already died.
Newcomers, the sun will rise, newcomers will rise, and like the stars fade out as time keeps continuing. Maybe could be reaching. So as my blood is creeping, right? So, people kind of use like those type of those sayings, see the reaper, seeing death approaching. He said he's sleeping a little bit deeper so he can face his demons, right? So this is kind of still tying into, like the abuse of, and I don't want to keep going back to like narcotics. I just know that, narcotics, whether it be not even narcotics, just liquor or whatnot, when it comes to those type of things, they're more of a way to escape, your problems instead of just sitting there dealing with it. So in order to escape the world around you, and your issues that you just so happen to be going through, you start doing things to yourself so that you can sleep and make it to the next day.
Weakness seems to be that I cannot stop breathing. Death keeps cheating on my life without my soul is feeding. Laying into the fleeting, nothing in the stream. Screaming and needing, yelling and pleading, the things ain't as they seem. And Nika sneaking and tweaking because I can't stop seeking. This pain is torture of horror that I'm always conceding.
I just want to go back one quick.
My life without my soul is feeding.
That's interesting, right? Does you ever like get to a point to where you feel like you just want to die, right? He says you can't stop breathing. It's not an easy thing to kind of take your own life. And I hope that none of you guys are ever feeling that way. And if you do, of course, there's help and everything. But that's what he's saying. He just cannot he can't seem to stop breathing, right? It's what he's thinking about doing, right? So, narcotics, liquor or whatnot, what have you, just to get through the next day, right? Because you just simply can't die. So you start torturing yourself. When he says his soul, that's very interesting, right? Because your soul is not something that you can easily replenish. We try to do that through healing our physical body needs, right? But spiritual, soulful healing is very rarely healed with things like that. So his soul is actually being burned away the more he tries to escape these demons.
Laying into the fleeting, nothing in the stream. Screaming and needing, yelling and pleading, the things ain't as they seem. And Nika sneaking and tweaking because I can't stop seeking. This pain is torture of horror that I'm always conceding.
Okay, that was the first one. My flaws burn through my skin like demonic flames from hell. It's interesting, like demonic flame from hell, right? Think about that, the way why they titled that, like demonic flames from hell. So demonic flames from hell ain't really necessarily burning your skin, right? You go to hell, right? That's spiritual burning, right? So still kind of one part of what we were talking about.
You must learn to obey. You must learn.
All right, so this is called My Scars Are Like Evidence Being Mailed to Judge.
Obey. You must learn. You must learn to obey.
And we already at 11 minutes, folks. Being mailed to the judge. That's interesting, right? Ties to the first chorus where he's like, die, die, die. And then this one saying that, all right, it's happened. This dude is dead now. Killing somebody is can always take an effect on your brain, like psychological kind of issues, like that type of stuff lives with you. And you know what? And if it's your own self that has actually been killed, then it's even worse, right? Because obviously you have to live with yourself. This is the second song where they can have it extended.
The bloody mess, keeping a motherfucking devil hot, satanic mentality happily making the bodies drop. I'm on the block, circling cops, ready for dead demise. Screams resonate through the night, so I can't close my eyes.
Internal conflict and everything going around doing all these things. Okay, it's interesting where he said right here,
the bloody mess, keeping a motherfucking devil.
Internal rest, right? The bloody mess. So killing somebody.
Satanic mentality happily making the bodies drop.
Satanic mentality. So Satan obviously likes to feed on some negative energy. You know what's very interesting about this is, you know, those of you that like partake in these type of crimes or whatnot, that you're aware that you are, right? And I feel like that's even more punishment because there's some people who are just like completely ignorant about the dangers and the harms it is when it comes to doing these things like this, right? And, you know, ignorance is bliss. But when you are doing these things, but you're also actively aware of what you're doing, you can't escape that type of mentality. That's a different type of torture. You know what I mean?
I'm on the block, circling cops, ready for dead demise. Screams resonate through the night, so I can't close my eyes. Hard to swallow when the hollows enter through your throat. Lately I wallow in my sorrow, cause I cannot cope. The dope, the coke, the drink, the lean, the pills, the extra smoke. The book, the choke, the pain away, I'm broken till I grow.
You know, and it says when the hollows, right? Now, pills aren't necessarily hollows, but I think the other double meaning for that would be necessarily the drugs, right? When the hollows hit my throat. So obviously gun bars, right? But I was already thinking along the lines of pills.
Close my eyes. Hard to swallow when the hollows enter through your throat. Lately I wallow in.
And then sometimes that can either be like guilt, right? When somebody say that's a hard pill to swallow.
My sorrow, cause I cannot cope. The dope, the coke, the drink, the lean, the pills, the extra smoke. The book, the choke, the pain away, I'm broken till I grow.
You know, this chorus might also be just referencing to the person itself, right? Instead of somebody else.
Baby, let me get the keys to the Rover truck. Baby, let me get the weed that's more for us. When these suckers leave, yeah, we can smoke a blunt and fuck. I'm busting nothing now. It's time to get the fuck about my grip. Yeah, here's a couple bucks. Pick somebody up, creeping out the cup. Blood seeping out my cup with the shot because you might escape the Tommy gun because I'm busy puffing blunts. But soon enough, you'll come back round. You screaming, like me up, please box me up. I got you suckers.
That's interesting. You know, kind of, you know, starting that verse off by, you know, hey, let's take all these drugs, let's everything. He's saying he might have to bring out another gun because the Tommy gun, obviously his visions are kind of altered. You know, I can't help but think that there's a deeper undertone. You know, I don't generally like to listen to rap that totes mostly about like gun bars and everything. So I usually try to look for undertones, even if they don't even exist, right? So let me tell you what I'm thinking about right here. So this part right here, this is kind of giving me the sense of like just going through the motions in life, right? Right, so these are just type of the things that they're just going through day by day. So hookers. So creeping out the cut, like creeping out of somewhere, blood seeping out of my cut. So creeping out of cut, blood seeping out of my cut. So out of my cut with the shotty because you might escape the Tommy. So imagine if I was like saying this to myself. Let's say that I was trying to achieve something, and I think of a shotgun as more of a blunt shotgun because you might escape Tommy. More of a blunt approach, right? Versus the Tommy fires rapid rounds, which is a rapid way around to approach multiple ideas instead of one blunt idea, right? So the Tommy gun might, you know, if you have too many ideas, right? If you're like the jack of all trades, you might not be able to achieve these same type of goals because there's not really a real focus. So you come with a shotgun kind of approach where you just kind of go straight forward, right? He said because you might escape the Tommy, and then he says afterwards because, you know, he's pretty much high and everything. So ill-informed decisions, not necessarily high on drugs, but ill-informed decisions are not getting not achieving what you would like to do it, right? So that's what I'm thinking right now. Like I said, it could literally just be about, you know, taking somebody's, you know, life, unfortunately. But I can't help but think there's undertones. I mean, this Suicide Boys we're talking about. Because I'm busy popping blunts, but soon enough you'll come back round. You screaming, like me up, please box me up. I got you something, start the flame and turn your body into dust. Smoke your body in the blunt, copy us, I light it up. Free me, release me. Okay, that's what I was thinking right there. So if I was to summarize that all up, see, my scars are like evidence being mailed to the judge. Scars, so being evidence. So let's say if somebody suspected you of being like a coke, like drugs like type of consumer and everything, right? Well, obviously we're going to kind of see that, I would think, right? Lack of it anyways. You're going to see that bodily, you know, changes. So being mailed to the judge, not necessarily mailed to him, but if he was to present yourself in front of a judge and you have all these scars and everything, then yeah, you can see that. More spiritual or emotional type of scars would mean these type of activities and stuff that you can't seem to get away with, can't get away from. And eventually that just starts building up a history. So now you got scars or like histories of doing these bad things. And once you get presented to a judge, they're going to see these scars, right? So you're pretty much just inflicting this pain upon yourself to make it very, very painfully obvious to other people that you're in trouble. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, well, we're moving on to the next song. I will celebrate for stepping on broken glass and slipping on stomach-soaked floors. Bro, these titles. All right. Ooh.
Burst into flame. Reprogram your brain.
Free me, productive brain. Dependency on drugs. You want to free yourself, but you're hooked on them. That's just demon dance. You know the saying that a bored mind's a devil's playground, right? So fiend up for the drug. So he puts a mask on and everything, was kind of talks, you know, insinuating like robbery, right? To get these type of valuables or like coins or cash or whatnot to go, you know, to keep inciting your high.
And a swish a lit drug kick. the ass hit.
With a dead chick. So you pretty much walking in, you know, sometimes when, whether it be men or women, when they get with somebody who has like a huge amount of like product or whatnot, I always see, well, I don't always see, but I like to think that those who freeload, right? Like a chick getting with a guy who has a whole lot of product, or if a girl or a guy getting with a girl that has a whole lot of product, that it's the person with the least amount of product that gets the most high. You know what I mean? And I think that's a reason, because they know that the supply is limited, or they'd have to do certain things in order to stay with that product. So they try to consume as much as they can. So when he says I'm walking up with a dead chick, you know what I'm saying? So he's pretty much just like, just out of it, you know.
Channel switch a lip, drug kick, got a half hit with the ass hit, can't quit. I'm an addict, so dramatic, in a manic, feeling panic. I need a Xanax, pass it as I hold it, real slowly, lonely, looking ghostly, surrounded by smoky mirror images of a fictionist. Over me, don't give a fuck about harming me. I'm drug until I RIP.
A fictionist, right? So, you know, fictionist, you know, you got nonfiction and you got fiction, like fiction books. So he's pretty much mirror image, seeing himself as somebody who's actually sober, right? Somebody that's actually out there doing some good stuff, but he knows that that's either really, really difficult to achieve, and it's just simply not real, which is why he says fictionist, right? Fiction means fake, right? Then nonfiction. I always get them confused for some reason.
Looking ghostly, surrounded by smoky mirror images of a fictionist. Over me, don't give a fuck about harming me. I'm drug until I RIP. Take a hit, the ass have been a while since the trip. Now I'm seeing all this shit, brain glowing, everything is bending in the same motion.
Like mushrooms, acid.
Take a hit, start staring at the smoke as it twists and disappears. Peer pressure don't affect me, bitch. I take drugs on my own.
You know, that, and you know, honestly, that's probably one of the parts where, you know, where you really just start seeing yourself slip. You know, peer pressure is something that we all, you know, get affected by. And sometimes it's not always bad, right? Peer pressure. So imagine you hanging out with a bunch of people who don't take drugs, right? And then you are the person that does consume it. Well, sometimes that peer pressure can be something that forces you to kind of change your life around, right? So sometimes it's a good thing. But when you start losing that sense of peer pressure, like I said, because it's not always bad, start losing that sense of peer pressure, then you're like, you know, you just simply just don't care, you know? So it's like a fine line between, you know, what good can peer pressure do versus what bad, right? Because if you're like, think about it, if you're working at a job and everybody's high level, sometimes there's that peer pressure right there, because they would expect that same type of high level for you. You start pushing yourself even more, right? And now you're doing things you never thought you would do for a good thing, right? It can happen on a bad thing. But he's talking about the lack of peer pressure. So now there's no type of guidance anywhere, right? You're pretty much just relying on your own type of sanity. And if that's already screwed up, which based off what they've said here, then you're pretty much a goner. Not a goner, it's just going to be a lot difficult to come out of whatever state you're in.
Peer pressure don't affect me, bitch. I take drugs on my own. Pop up Perkins, throw some coke. It feel like my heart is broke because I get fucked up when I feel alone. I'm choking on this podium, but we are moping that I don't breathe, bitch. I'm dope back like you know me. Shoot me up so
I'm
like
dope.
you know deep.
Okay. So what is that? It said Chloe. That looks like all right. So interesting. Sometimes when you hear like a title of a song, you would expect to get the meaning and everything of this. Now, I didn't know going into this that this was actually like, how many songs was it? 1, 2, 3. I didn't know that it was 3 songs, but the way that I'm looking at this is I see up here it says, I no longer fear the razor guarding my heel, right? So it's like one of them things where if there is a razor that's guarding your heel, right? Unless you take action against it, then fearing against it and always thinking about it doesn't change the fact that the razor is still guarding your heel, right? Eventually, you're going to have to try to move on and honestly forget about that razor that's down there, because worrying about it is only causing you to go crazier, right? So I no longer fear it. And you would go into, so I hear that, and then I go into the song expecting to hear why you no longer fear it. But instead, what I got was, what are the actions that were causing the fear of the razor guarding the heel, right? So instead of more of a solution, as you know, instead of getting like a description of why, right, we got more of a this is what it looks like, right? So that's my analysis on this. This is already like a 26-minute video. I appreciate you guys if you watch this whole thing. Sometimes on these 26-minute videos, the reason why I don't like doing long videos is because my viewer duration for a 26-minute video is like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Which people skip around. That's totally fine and everything. But the performance of these videos greatly determine if I continue doing reactions or if I just watch them off camera. Because as you guys know, time is money, and I spend a great deal of time doing these. But if nobody's going to watch them, then that's why I move on. You know what I mean? So anyways, you guys let me know what y'all thought about this down in the comments. That's the end of this video. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and subscribe. Dave's out.